Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop, Emerald Planet. All the ecology news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's your host, Executive Director of the Emerald Planet, Dr. Sam Lee Hancock.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. in the United States as we look around the globe in 144 different nations looking for those 1,000 best practices and the technologies, products, and services that are being used as we move through the 21st century. And we'd like to thank you for being with us. And also, I think we were just showing Jim Girardi, our former colleague who passed recently, and may he rest in peace. And he was a wonderful guy and with us for almost 6 years. But we have with us in the studio who has survived a very intense time in Tanzania, and I know that for sure because I was with you for all that whole time. This is Jessica Kamala-Mushala, the founder and president of SHINA Inc. of Lanham, Maryland, USA, and Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. And welcome to the studio.
Thank you for having me.
We brought you all the way from Tanzania here by live TV, and now you're here in the studio, so welcome. Glad to have you.
Samahana.
You did a fantastic job when we were traveling in Tanzania, but tell us a little bit about SHINA Inc. and what does the acronym stand for?
SHINA Inc. is a Swahili word, but the acronym of it is S. It stands for Send, Hope, Inspire, and Nourish, utilizing accumulated knowledge and skills. We named our organization that name thinking a thick, strong tree trunk with deep-rooted foundation to make sure the message as we communicate in our parables, it implies the organization's here to stay, to help people.
Well, looking at what is a nonprofit organization, because that's what you are, and then what have you learned as far as best practices from managing such a nonprofit? But you have straddling the oceans, so working in the United States and working in Tanzania, there must be some very interesting and different perspectives that you have.
What is non-for-profit? We debated about it a little bit, but non-profit is an organization which is run by using and supported by other organizations' funds. So we do the work, but that work is supported by other people's money.
And looking at that whole thing as far as getting people involved, what do you have to do to be a nonprofit?
You really have to dedicate and give your time a lot. You have to be committed and invest yourself in understanding the people you are serving.
Well, I think this is one of the things that really sets you apart, but when you look at your nonprofit, what really does have SHINA Inc. standing by itself?
SHINA Inc. stands by itself mainly because of the volunteers. The volunteers who are committed and understands the need of their community. The volunteers who want a hand up, someone to help them, not just a hand down where you make them dependent. And once you get that, then it's you can easily touch people's lives in a way that they become responsible, transparent, accountable for whatever help they're receiving from SHINA Inc.
You know, this is something I find absolutely amazing because you're in a country which is what they consider emerging market economy. And so people are transitioning from, a lot of subsistence and other kinds of things into a real market economy. But yet, the people that you're engaged with truly are volunteers and they're giving huge chunks of their time. How do you identify and find people that are willing to be that committed to their communities and do it, in essence, for free?
Amazingly, SHINA as an organization, we don't go out looking for people to volunteer. We've been blessed for people to look for us because of the work we have done. They found us. And if someone is willing and search that out and asking for help, that means they're committed and they know the need for their community. As a result, we have been able to open different branches, but also we have closed some if they don't follow what we consider our ethics. And the key is how much can you help your people or your community if you're not willing to put your own time. It's not about give me, it's about what we can do together. And that has helped to identify those who have the passion for their community.
That's fantastic, and also that really relates directly to your mission and the goals and objectives that you have for that. And you serve a very diverse community, and I'm using that as a singular because the nation of Tanzania, but it's a very diverse society. We went from Pemba and Zanzibar, you know, and then into the mainland as far as the main area as far as Tanzania. What is some of that? How is that diversity reflected in society, and how does SHINA go across all these different socioeconomic, religious, and educational backgrounds?
We go across by understanding the people you're serving, and maybe that's an understatement. I should say understanding the culture, engaging the intergender projects, making sure that people understand you're not there to tell them what to do, but to see what they do and encourage them to do it better or best practices. If I take an example of Zanzibar, which combines Unguja and Pemba, they are mainly 99.9% Muslim. I'm a Christian from the mainland. So what makes me unique or makes our organization so successful is us stepping back and actually giving seminar to the elders and community leaders.
I see.
So they understand the importance of empowering a woman or girl child education or improving the economic welfare so that as a community they can move up together. That has worked tremendously by understanding what makes them tick.
Well, and I think this is actually, I'm glad you brought that up because we have the scene here we visited, and I just thought this was absolutely phenomenal where you're actually working with the ladies, and we're looking here with the solar panels and the water distribution system.
Yeah.
3 acres of land, I believe we converted that out of the hectares. And you just tell us about this as a success story because this is an incredibly powerful story.
Oh yeah, let's go back to 2007. When we visited Pemba the first time, we were invited by one of the young guy named David. And when we went there, the women, they had no support system at all. The community was not really receiving any help. So we encouraged their husbands to allow their wives to form a cluster groups of women. That particular project we visited this time is a success because it was the first time which we gave them well, like around $500. And out of that well, they were able to do the irrigation and did the vegetable gardens. They were able to feed their people, and then the remaining one they sell. Now you turn that into cash. And through all that, they have created and paid it forward by supporting other groups. As a result, you are able to see that now they have power panels, solar energy, and they can do even better. Irrigation, they can have vegetables around months, different seasons. I think for me, I see more health community. I see more independent financially. I see them being able to buy themselves, pay school fees, buy clothing. The support we gave them in 2007 has been a foundation where they are today.
Yeah, and I want us to go to this scene right here because these are actually some of the gardens that we walked through.
Yes.
That are being irrigated out of this well that you were talking about. And then this is actually the lunch that the ladies provided for the whole team that was there, and you said when you first went there, this would probably have never happened.
Oh yeah, that would have been very, very difficult. Number one, the comfortability of welcoming foreigners because they felt people are coming there to change them. But our approach is we are there to help you do certain things in a best practices way. We are there to help you make sure you can kind of be a little bit modern and help your children to be able to cope and be productive members of the society.
And also to be willing to show hospitality to many others. It was just a very telling experience. I have this up here. I know this is something that you've been involved in. You work with the communities as far as helping schools and health centers and these kinds of structures to be built in the communities. Tell us a little bit about that and how does that actually help to support success of the various projects that you're working on?
If I refer to the slide you have up right now, we're going to talk about the volunteerism. What makes us so unique is that we offer the volunteers and donors an opportunity to visit the projects we are working on in Tanzania and other countries. And this is one of the projects which a volunteer, I think we went together in 2013, and she felt this group of women who are doing art crafts and painting, they did not have enough fresh air. And through our own initiatives, she came back, she was able to fundraise money and specifically help them to have this particular area. Now they can paint in a more healthier environment. Yeah. It's one of example of the power of involving your donors.
Now this, I believe this is Dadi, this gentleman here that's helping as far as distribution of the mosquito blankets. Tell us a little bit of his story and the work that he's doing in Pemba, Zanzibar, but also he's working with you on the mainland as well.
Wow, Dadi is one of that unique case, I could say. He was one of the youth or young man who was willing to support the empowerment of women in that particular community. And of course, by doing that, he faced a lot of challenges and a lot of maybe misunderstanding from different people who did not understand why he's trying to empower women. Single-handedly, he identified the special needs children. We're supporting 55 disabled children. We are building the center. He brought the water there, the electricity. He's just so good that he was able to represent Zanzibar into African Union, a young conference in Ghana, even though he does not speak English. So we are so proud that his work speaks for itself, but he has a passion for his people to receive what we are able to offer.
Well, when we're always together, we never have enough time to chat. So,
yes.
And this is absolutely a fantastic photograph. But I'm going to go out on this one. This is the ladies that you've helped and worked with over the years. But in about 20 seconds, what do you see for the growth and expansion of SHINA Inc. over the next 5, 10, 15 years?
I see more involvement of volunteers. I see trainees training others. I see people being more independent and touching more lives.
Absolutely fantastic. This is Jessica Kamala-Mushala. She is the founder and president of SHINA Inc., land of Maryland, and also of Dar es Salaam and all of Tanzania, I should say. And thank you for being with us, and thank you for sharing these fantastic images and also what you're doing there. I just applaud you, and thank you for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
This is firstgov.gov, where we're obsessed with getting you government information.
Brand new student loan applications on the site, baby. This calls for a celebration. Where's your uncle?
So in the end, it was either take the astronaut gig or come work here. What can I say? Duty called.
Dude, that's my cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that's Sam's cop.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. No. Sam's. No.
Just log on or email us and get what you need.
C, change of address form. That's how it's done.
D, driver's license renewal.
E, emailing Social Security information.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Nice, we'll allow it. All right, Ed.
What are those?
Government surplus cars for auction.
You posted those online last time.
No, you did.
I'm posting them online this time!
For all your government information, firstgov.gov.
Oh, what have we got here? Sometimes you feel tired. You can't seem to lose those extra pounds off your midsection. And your joints hurt when you take the stairs. Well, you're getting older. But I'm happy to say that there's some simple things we can do to keep you happy and healthy for years to come. We can also lower your risk for some serious diseases the older population is often subject to. Proper nutrition is more important than ever. Your body has changed, you know. Not as many treats. A basic exercise plan, lots of walks and fresh air, and most importantly, come and see me for twice-yearly checkups to help ensure the best possible quality of life. Now, how does that sound? Good boy.
Improve the quality of life for your elderly pet. Schedule twice-yearly checkups that include preventive care and regular lab work. A message from the veterinary members of the American Animal Hospital Association.
to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you from Washington, D.C. And on a week-to-week basis, we're looking for those 1,000 best practices, technologies, services, products, and of course the people are making a difference as we move through the 21st century. And as we go to a planet that will have about 9 billion people on it by 2050, and the continent of Africa, which will be over 1 billion people, a very rapidly growing population, how are we going to be able to provide all the basic infrastructure, the food, the fuel, the fiber, everything that's going to need so the people on the African continent actually have increasing qualities of lifestyle instead of just trying to exist. And I have a gentleman sitting right beside me who is very actively involved in that, has been his whole, actually your whole life, not just your professional career. This is Amos Mushala, patron, love that title, of SHINA Inc. of Atlanta, Maryland, and also of Tanzania and Dar es Salaam, the capital, and many other areas throughout that beautiful country. And Amos, thank you for taking us over to Tanzania. It was wonderful being with you. And the movie that I would say that best applies to our trip is The Fast and the Furious. So it was very well done. And it's just amazing the work that you're doing over there.
Well, thank you for taking the trip with us.
Now, I want to acknowledge that for everybody that's watching this, that you're doing absolutely fantastic work in Tanzania and good work here in the United States. But tell us, what is a patron? It's a very interesting title for a nonprofit. And how is that your position, your title, different than most executives that are running, managing, and being involved with nonprofits?
Well, as a patron, I act in many areas, but then to fall in the culture of the African culture, I had to assist my wife. She is the president, but then on the African culture, we have to respect the culture there, but then taking the title of a patron is to push her ahead and assist her in getting things done because we are helping women and kids.
Yeah. So really looking at this title patron, and you and I have talked about this before and actually talked about it in Tanzania, this really has a powerful influence, but also the word itself has power within the African community itself, and it's very important to have that title, I understand.
Yes, it is, because as you see as a culture, the man is always ahead of things. But then to make the world a little better, we have to make sure that we assist our women and children to be able to be seen also.
Well, you've built a most exciting but also successful accounting and tax service, in Atlanta, Maryland, and in the greater Washington metropolitan area. But yet you have this focus of give back to Tanzania, give back to your own community there, of your ancestors. And so you came to the United States as a young man, flourished, but now you're going back. And the going back that you're doing, going back to my reference to the Fast and Furious, I mean, you're working 14, 16 hours a day when we're over there, interacting with people, and people are, just literally walking into the house, showing up and wanting to have an audience with you, and of course your wife, Jessica Mushala, who is the president and founder of SHINA Inc. So why this continued focus on give back?
Continue to, let me correct a little bit. Yes, we build the accounting, but it's also the backbone of my wife. Me, I am an engineer by profession, but then the accounting helps us to be able to give back on saving side of the accounting, ways to help. But when we giving back, it came from the aspect of my father. He always taught me never to forget where you came from. So on that aspect, I continue on not forgetting where I'm from or where the roots where I was born, and the travel back and forth makes me stronger to realize how much help is needed there and other places that we travel to.
Now, looking at these young faces we have in this image that actually was taken when we were together over there, what are these eyes seeing that us sitting here in this studio are not seeing. And you saw, like this young man right here in front, that's why I selected this particular image. What is he seeing, and what is in the future for this young man and these young children that SHINA Inc. is bringing into their lives?
Amazing that you brought such picture. For me, of me and the wife, when we see youngsters like this, they are hoping for something much more than what they have. So by us looking at them, it takes me back. If I didn't have the opportunity to come to America, if I didn't get the opportunity to travel, I don't think they don't have any inspiration to even grow any further. But when they see us, they're hopeful. And for us looking at them, we want to try even harder to help them to better their lives, to be able to help within the community.
So we're looking at this, actually it's really a two-way street, if we can just keep this image up here. We're looking at this as a springboard for these young people in Tanzania, but actually what you've done as a mature engineer, adult business owner and all that, this is really a springboard for you as far as the future that you've carved out for yourself and your family in the United States, but also you're continuing to build within Tanzania itself. Is that correct?
Yes, I am. We don't just want to open the future without them realizing what the future brings. We want to educate them to look at themselves and look at what the country will be changing to. So it's not just looking where you live. You gotta open up your mind to better and greater things.
Now this is fantastic. These young children, and actually there's the limb of the tree that where this actual school started, where these children are walking, and I find that absolutely amazing. But flying over Tanzania, you don't realize how big a country this is until you start traveling. And I tell people we went by boat, we went, by air, we were driving overland. I mean, if there had been donkeys, we'd probably been on those as well. But looking at this country, what do you see when you're flying? This is kind of a philosophical question. What do you see from the air as we go to all these different places? Because we were in almost 30 different communities in about 14 days. And that's a lot of traveling.
Yes, it is. But when we travel, or when I travel with the wife and family, when I look at a picture like that, or when I'm in the air, it makes me think that we are just a little pebble on the earth, just a minuscule little thing. But then we're only here for temporary, so we need to do the best as we can to help our fellow human beings, to help our children, to help the community to grow much better.
Yeah, and this is what I felt, and of course I've been there twice now, roughly a little over a month with the two times, but you understand this sense of urgency that you have, the sense of urgency that SHINA Inc. has, as an organization to really bring change. And I think it's just incredible that you're working with people like this and getting them involved. So when you're working with the children, that's really the focus, and of course the women, and then you're really focusing on women-owned businesses. Why women-owned businesses as another springboard to the future?
Because the African culture, most of the time the women have been left behind. They are strong. The women are the backbone of a family. Without springing up the women to better themselves, the family will be a broken limb. So we need to make sure that we capture the women and the kids, because most of the men there just make you pregnant and run off to another lady. But then if we make the women strong enough to maintain the family structure, to maintain the culture, to maintain the growth, things will even be better in the world.
Now looking at this is a very interesting image. Of course, this is the map of the world. This was done by one of your coordinators who's actually standing in the photograph. Tell us where this is, because this really doesn't give full justice to where this place actually was located and what we had to do to get there. And then you come and there's a picture of the whole world on the side of this school.
Actually, this man is Mr. Hermes Malingum. It's a school that he attended when he was a youngster. And this is located in Buyango, Kagera region. We happened to go there because being a volunteer for SHINA, he said, while we're helping other places, why not come and see where I went when I was a youngster? So it brings back the play of also me playing that I came from Tanzania, but also was able to go back and try to help. So Mr. Malingum, by inviting us over to his school where he attended, and then we found out what was going on much later on. We're able to even reach out to see what we can help to better the school. And fortunately, he's the one who drew that for the school.
Yeah, it's just amazing, and he's an amazing individual. I just love this guy. You know, he graduated from music school and just doing all kinds of wonderful things. And then, of course, this is the ladies group. Tell us about this, because this comes to ladies empowerment. And then I have one last question, and then we're going to be out of time.
I'm trying to see which
this
kind
is
of
this is the ones, the ladies co-op that does the catering.
Oh, okay. At that same school, being that they heard we were coming to donate the blankets, they took
Which
it upon
is the mosquito.
Mosquitoes.
Yes, go ahead.
As they called it, it's not blankets over there. They wanted to have sheets, but they gave their services, meaning the group that we helped to better themselves. They do catering. So on that day, being they knew they were coming with guests from America, they took upon themselves to do the catering for us and gave us food. They fed us very well. And the whole, actually, it was about almost 400 individuals there at that time. But they took care of it to make sure that we did not feed you the wrong way.
Yeah, I tell you, this was absolutely fantastic. And all these pots and pans and everything, this was working through SHINA.
Yes.
And giving them a very small grant. And then they've been able to leverage this, and now they're actually buying their own and expanding. I guess they're not doubling, they're going to triple their business.
They're going to triple the business and also reach out to other groups. This is passing on to other groups.
We're going to leave this image up. What do you see for growth and expansion in the next 5, 10, 15 years? You've got about 10 seconds to do all of that.
10, 15 years, what I see, the more opening eyes of these youngsters that we see, that we help. The more excitement in them seeing SHINA growing and them giving back to SHINA also. By us helping them, they help
Amos
others.
Mushala, thank you for being on the Emerald Planet.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate your time.
Fantastic.
You make me sweat.
Some dreams are universal. Dreams that inspire us. Multiple sclerosis is a devastating disease that changes lives forever. The National MS Society does more for people with MS than any organization in the world. But we can't do it alone. To get involved, visit us online at nationalmssociety.org. or call 1-800-FIGHT-MS. This is why we're here. Because nobody dreams of having multiple sclerosis.
What's wrong with this picture? Half of young Americans can't locate economic powers like Japan and India. 20% can't even find the Pacific Ocean. Without geography, our children aren't ready for the world. Geography is everywhere. It's incredible creatures, rhythm, fashion, flavor. It's economics and politics. It's change. Understanding connections between people and places is critical in the 21st century. That's why we created mywonderfulworld.org. Go there now for your free parent and teacher action kits and give our kids the power of global knowledge. Because kids who understand our world today can succeed in it tomorrow.
to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome as we take you out to the world on a week-to-week basis. I'm Dr. Sam Hancock. This is Emerald Planet TV as we look around the globe in 144 different nations looking for those 1,000 best practices. And the best practices are going to take us through a century that we'll see an explosion of population, about 9 billion people by 2050 and maybe 12 to 13 billion by the end of this century. And so how are we going to take care of all these people? That's really one of the questions that we have. And you see this logo right over my shoulder here of SHINA Inc. It's a group that's very much involved in Tanzania and the African continent, but at the same time also in the United States. And Rose Woodruff is actually, she has a very long title, leadership and team coach, executive decision coaching, but most cogent as members of the board of directors for SHINA Inc. And Rose, thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for having me.
I'm glad to have you here. You have a very successful business. We've talked before. We actually traveled twice now to African continent, going into Tanzania and looking at all the things going over there. But why do you think you need to have this give back as far as leadership skills specifically, but also you do a lot with communications and other things, and you're working with the women specifically, but also the youth there. Why is that so important to you?
You know, for me, SHINA is actually all about the give back. The leadership skills and communication is more what I do to earn my living. But what we do is empowering people. And when you empower people, it's always building their leadership skills. Whether you are, whether you're encouraging your other volunteers on the ground to teach women entrepreneurial skills, to empower them as a co-op group to open a bank account, which they may have never imagined they would do. There are so many things that our on-the-ground volunteers do that's building the leadership of the community. And so it's our job as the SHINA board and volunteers in the U.S. to support the on-the-ground volunteers.
That's fantastic. Well, tell us, what is SHINA Inc., because this is your own show, and then and why do you volunteer with SHINA Inc. specifically? I mean, there's 7,300 nonprofits just registered in Washington, D.C. alone, and countless others across the national capital region. So why SHINA?
Okay, well, let me start with SHINA Inc. SHINA Inc. is a nonprofit based in the U.S. and in Tanzania, founded by Jessica Kamala-Mushala and her husband Amos Mushala. And you know, and I've been involved with a lot of charity work over the years. The reason I stay with SHINA directly impacts the people who are most vulnerable. When you look at students who wouldn't get to go to school because their parents can't afford the school fees or the uniforms. When you look at women who have been widowed and perhaps the male relatives have divorced them and the children, at that point they're not eligible for government subsidies because they have male relatives who should be taking care of them, but because of the divorces, they have nothing. And so SHINA can come in and make a huge difference in their lives, get their children through school. One of the things with SHINA is you, as a donor, and I'm a volunteer, so I get it doubly, but even as just a donor, you can go over and meet these people whose lives have been truly touched and changed in a profound way by the work of SHINA.
Yeah, and this is just an incredible photograph. This is Jessica Mushala, who is the founder and president of the organization, and the amount of giving that they have out of their own pocket and the energy that they have, because they're actually just giving this. Now, my father was a minister, and his gifts and offerings was about 25% of everything he earned, which was not a small amount in his day. But the Mushala seems like they're just giving everything. It's just absolutely amazing individuals, and I think it's fantastic. But this reason I put this up here, and I want you to attest to this, Rose, if you will, these are what they call love gifts You know, each place you go, you know, they are, of course, there. We went with the mosquito blankets and all that. But the communities do this, and they do it voluntarily. Tell us about that, and then what does this really mean as far as strengthening and expanding the influence, but the importance of SHINA in these communities themselves?
So you call them love gifts. I call them gratitude. And actually, the first time you go on a SHINA trip, it's so exciting because everywhere you go, people line up to bring gifts of gratitude to you. And in this particular photo, these are hand-woven purses and fans that have been painted by one of our Women in Business micro-grant co-ops. And in fact, they're getting their new factory built so that the fumes don't overtake them, which was happening before. You know, when you talk about Jessica, most people actually call her Mama SHINA. And so everywhere she goes, the people whose lives she's touched want to express their gratitude.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. It's just like this group here. This was a drumming and quasi-dance group, you know, it was from a religious background. But it's just incredible. This was their gift for this day to this whole thing, which probably had 300 to 400 people, you know, involved in this from the community. And it was just absolutely incredible, the energy and the willingness. And they were out in the sun that was about 100 degrees for about 4 hours or 5 hours. That was just absolutely amazing. And so what energy are you seeing when you're going over, and how does this bootstrapping, hands up, it's not really a charity, even though we said that at the very beginning, it really is, it's really empowerment, I think would be a better term. How would you describe that, Rose?
So, okay, well, to back up a little bit, this group is through our health and spirituality programs. And SHINA sponsored several choirs, both Christian and Muslim. That was the Muslim choir. And in Tanzania, one does not separate singing and dancing. Singing and dancing is done out of joy. And so when we support those programs, and all of our programs are only supported for 3 years, and at the end of 3 years you graduate and you're on your own.
Well, the operative word of that too, Rose, is support. It's not like you're giving and all that. They really have to do more than just a match. They really have to be involved and provide funds and all that to do this work. You're just helping them along, is that correct?
Yeah, we're just helping them, and we're helping them with just what they need, not necessarily what they want, what they need, certainly not more than they need. You know, one group, it was an accordion 1 year. So again, it's putting the resources that are necessary, only the resources that are necessary, and doing it in a very efficient manner, which is one of the things that makes SHINA different from a lot of other charities.
Yeah, that's just amazing. But looking at that, as far as, do you think this is really the reason that SHINA is so successful and it keeps expanding? Because, you know, when I was there a year ago, I mean, we went to certain communities. This time we went literally over the whole country, and there's active groups going just everywhere. And when you go in, we met with district commissioners, regional commissioners. They all knew SHINA itself. They all knew what it was there for, why it was being involved in the community, and they were incredibly supportive as government agencies with a nonprofit.
So with SHINA, what makes us so successful there and growing is that we come in and our people on the ground are from the community. They speak the vernacular languages. They understand the culture. And it prevents so many missteps, the littlest things. You can have a group that comes in to do great work, and they put up a big cross to take a photo, and they may have just endangered somebody's life because the culture is so different from ours. So for us, we've got the guys on the ground and the women. We have Hanifer. And they know the culture. They do what they need to do. The other thing with SHINA, after we build something, we give it to the community. SHINA doesn't hold on and own any of the projects we've done in Tanzania. You know, if we...
It's gifted to the community.
It's gifted. If a church gave ground to build a preschool for the community, we give the preschool to the church. If the village gave the ground to build the preschool for the community, or I should say early learning center, because it will eventually be more than a preschool, then we give it back to them when we're done building it.
Looking at this scene here, this is much of what you see in many different areas as far as Tanzania is a lot of rural areas, and of course it's a rapidly urbanizing country at the same time. So what do you see for the future of young children like this in Tanzania that really is growing and taking its place in world society, and it's having an influence because it is an emerging market nation, and they want to do good because just in a year they built 2 airports. I mean, they're improving the roads. There's a lot of activity going on. If you go back, you know, year by year, you really see the progress that's going on in this really very large country.
So one of the things with Tanzania, like many African countries, is a lot of times the telephone lines only went to the post office if you had one in your town or village. And then, so when cell phones came in, the whole country grabbed onto them. Anybody who could afford a cell phone in Tanzania has a cell phone. And what that's doing, it's actually opening up the internet to these young people, even when they're in rural villages, although as you know, we don't always get data in the rural villages. So I think there's knowledge coming in that was never able to come in before. My hope, I think the biggest challenge for Tanzania and many African countries is moving from the what can I bring home for me and my family today to how can I support my community and my family today.
Now we got to be quick. You got about 20 seconds. We were there giving out the Skintex MR3, the anti-mosquitoes. What do you see this, but also other kinds of new initiatives for SHINA Inc. that's really propelling it to be a major force in society of Tanzania? And you know, got about 15 seconds.
You know, malaria kills so many people. Everyone in Tanzania knows someone who has died from malaria.
Every family's been
Every family. So I think this is going to make SHINA a household name throughout Tanzania.
I think it's absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Rose, for being with us, and thank you to your viewers for being with us as we create the Emerald Planet.
There's more than just books at the library.
There's more than just books at the library.
Excuse me.
There's more than just books at the library.
Il n'y a plus que de livres à la bibliothèque.
Hello. You have a lot of great books here today. You know there's more than just books at the library.
I know.
There's more than just books at the library.
I don't want to be hooked to a machine.
I want all the medical treatment available to me.
I wouldn't want my family to have to make this decision.
My doctor knows what's best for me.
An advance directive is your life on your terms. Talk with your family. Decide what's right for you. Then put it in writing.
Documenting my wishes today means my family won't have to make heart-wrenching decisions later.
To learn more, visit www.putitinwriting.org.
1,200 American youth run away from their homes every day. The National Runaway Switchboard is here to help. 1-800-RUNAWAY. If you are a runaway, thinking about running away from home, or a parent or guardian concerned about issues facing your child, call us 24 hours a day. 1-800-RUNAWAY. In times of crisis, hope is just a phone call away. 1-800-RUNAWAY.
to the Inside Scoop Emerald Planet. Here again, your host, Dr. Sam.
Hello and welcome to the Emerald Planet as we come to you on a week-to-week basis looking around the globe and taking the world into Emerald Planet and then back out to the world itself. And we really appreciate you being with us on this week-to-week jaunt as we look around the globe. And actually, we were just in Tanzania, Dubai, and Taiwan bringing live programming from those areas. So we're now back in the studio, and I have someone who we've been actually working with for a number of years now, and a fantastic individual, Lisa Polgar, who is Assistant Director for PanAmerican-PanAfrican Association, and called the Papa. And then also Vice President, Board of Directors for SHINA, Inc., which we're going to talk more about. But Lisa, how we met was really through the Papa and the United Nations. Tell us about the Papa, and going back to Robert Pritchard, who was the founder and creator of this, and why is the Papa so important?
Right. Thank you so much for having me on the show again. I'm always thrilled to be on here with you and to share our experiences. Dr. Pritchard was the founder of our organization, and he is the first, he was the first African-American concert pianist to actually perform at Lincoln Center. A lot of folks don't know that. He essentially believed that promoting cultural understanding was the key to promoting peace in the world. He was the first to he was the first to record a classical music recording that as a classical pianist, and that recording has recently been issued by the Smithsonian Institution, so it's available online. He was the author of the World Festival of Negro Arts, and what that was, it was an Olympiad of the Arts in 1965. This is going back more than 50 years. Yes. And what it was to celebrate the arts of the African diaspora and also the arts of mainland Africa. And so it was developed as a means to promote economic development in Africa. He felt that culture was the key to promote economic development. And the precursor to the World Festival of Negro Arts actually was the American Festival of Negro Arts, which was the first Black History Month event here in the United States in 1965.
That's just incredible.
So, he's been a pioneer, and but the main concept that he promoted was multicultural education, multicultural understanding, and that was his focus, even though a lot of the programs were directed towards Africa and African Americans. He believed that we needed to promote better understanding within the different cultural communities here in the United States.
Now, you've really expanded that because you're doing work in Latin America and, of course, back in the United States. And then something that was really connected us was this indigenous focus that you have, indigenous tribal areas, indigenous nations, the 560 plus, Native American nations, in the United States and all that. And so why have you carved out more and more areas? I mean, Africa as a continent is 54 countries, and it's almost 1 billion people now, not quite, almost 1 billion people. And now you've added Latin America, and, and the indigenous peoples literally goes beyond, all borders. Sure. Because they're multinational just by their locations, which I find very interesting. So why keep expanding?
Well, actually, who was to say what is indigenous? I think we are all indigenous to some place. We did do a lot of work in upstate New York with the Onondaga Indian Reservation up there, encouraging economic development there. They're one of the most impoverished nations in the United States. They're a nation within a nation. As far as working with Africa or Latin America, Dr. Pritchard always had this concept of mutuality of benefit. That many organizations go abroad and they think that they're doing good, they're helping another community by basically giving from the top down. And he always had this philosophy that when you are helping other folks, you're actually helping yourself. So by creating economic development in another country, you're actually helping the United States in creating peace. Countries that you are having trade with, having interaction culturally, are less likely to come after you. So that was his philosophy.
Yeah, you don't bomb somebody you're trading with as your neighbor, in a sense.
That's right, absolutely. Yeah.
Now, looking at this whole thing, and in a sense, what you're talking about is the bottom up, or actually inverting the pyramid, so you have the broad mass of people at the top, and then, in a sense, the elite should be serving, the broad mass, and that's the concept that Dr. Pritchard has. But looking at the PAPA, and of course, you're very much involved with SHINA Inc., which certainly endorses and is built on that. How do you see, through your years of service, that the nonprofit community and the PAPA and the SHINA Inc. is really helping people around the globe? Because this is something that's really becoming more of a debate than one would think about what are nonprofits really doing in the world.
Sure, absolutely. And there's a lot of concern about accountability. And we are very closely partnering with SHINA Inc., and that's one thing that we definitely do not have to worry about is accountability, because over 90% of the funds that they raise go directly to programs that they're involved with, go directly to the people. The people that they work with are in many cases on-the-ground volunteers. They're accountable for where the money goes, and there's really a push to, when SHINA gives a grant to a community, it's a 3-year grant. Instead of having to pay the money back, the money has to be paid forward to the community. So it's, it's a very progressive way of looking at organizations. Our major function is in creating partnerships. And as you know, we are very happy to have introduced you to SHINA Inc. And also to Polgar Chemicals, which is now working with SHINA Inc. and distributing the Skintex blankets to prevent malaria. It's one of the major killers. Every 30 seconds, one child in Africa dies of malaria.
Now, I want to enlarge this image here, if we can, right now. This is in a clinic that we visited, because this is one of the clinics that SHINA Inc. is working with. And this baby that's right to the, I guess, our left, her right, that child, now that it has the blanket, will probably survive. Without it, it's a 50-50 chance that this baby, after going home, would not live.
Right, absolutely.
And this is something that's very profound, and this is why I'm really glad that SHINA is collaborating, with you and with Emerald Planet and others, because many of these mothers that we visited this year, came up and said, "My child's alive because we got the blanket."
Wow, that's incredible.
I mean,
we're so proud of that.
That's really profound, and that's something I think is just really had a very profound impact in the thinking and the reality of SHINA Inc. itself, and that was just a tremendous thing. But as a dynamic woman leader, as you are, you really are, why is this collaboration with the UN so important, ECOSOC?
ECOSOC. Well, our organization, the Pan-American-PanAfrican Association, we are an NGO in consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. And as such, basically what we feel is an obligation to help other organizations have access to the UN. Every year, the United Nations organizes the Commission on the Status of Women. In 2017, it'll be the 61st session of that commission. And with SHINA and also with an organization called Pleasant Gathering in Nigeria, we've organized events at the United Nations, organized presentations to bring awareness to women's issues, the abuse of women, the abuse of widows in Tanzania, the abuse of young girls not having an access to education. With Pleasant Gathering, basically they talk about giving access to young people to healthcare services, protecting women from prostitution. So the UN is really offers a forum for women all over the world. During these conferences, over 6,000 women descend on New York City, and to really share the best practices that are available throughout the world. You know, women share experiences, how they were able to work with men in order to support women's rights.
Yeah.
You know, half of humanity is women, so
actually over half
of humanity is women. So if we don't bring that other half up, you know, I think we're going to be doomed as
societies. And I'm 100% in support of that. And actually, what we see here in this actual image is some of the ladies that have been supported, you know, as far as SHINA is concerned, and doing good things. But you were literally raised almost, if I remember my history correct, through the Papa.
Absolutely.
You're very, very young, and of course you're still very young.
Oh, thank you so much.
But why do you think this Papa-UN connection is so important as far as the United States is concerned? You know, because there's some movements here, don't pay the dues, all these other kinds of things.
Sure.
And I know you're a counter to that whole thing. Why is that important? And then we're going to go out very quickly on what do you see for the expansion of Papa and SHINA over the next 5, 10,
you know, the
years.
UN is really a forum. It brings people together that otherwise would be fighting. There is obviously a lot of controversy whether it's a viable organization. It has the World Health Organization, the World Food Organization. You know, so there's a lot of programs, UNICEF, that helps millions of children all over the world. It is an essential entity, and so without it, I think the world would be a worser place.
In 10 seconds, what do you see for the growth of Papa and SHINA over the next 5
Well,
10,
I
15
think
years?
you know, we have so many new technologies in the world, Twitter, Facebook. But it's the work of the hands-on people on the ground that are making the difference, and SHINA is one of those organizations.
Lisa Polgar, thank you again for being with us.
You're
doing absolutely fantastic work. And this is just really an excellent opportunity to share about what you're doing with Papa and also with SHINA Inc. And thank you for really pushing forward the blankets, because that's something that's really been needed.
Yeah.
And I just want you to know we love you and we support you in everything you're doing at the Creek.